Warning: the following stupidly long video is, well, stupidly long. It contains rambling explanations, drawn-out analogies, and more talking than any sane person needs. Side effects may include frustration, anxiety, impatience, and boredom. If you find yourself yelling at the screen to shut up and get to the point, stop the video immediately and call your physician. No YouTube review of any piece of home gym gear should be this long, and yet, here we are. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the GymCrafter YouTube channel, everybody. My name is Tim. I am the head gym nerd here at GymCrafter.com, the website that I built to help ordinary folks like you and I build home and garage gyms that we absolutely love. And part of building home and garage gyms that we absolutely love is saving two things: space and money. And I'm here with something today that may save you both of those. This is the Nordic Hyper Pro by Freak Athlete, along with all of the accessories and doodads and gadgets you can attach to it. I've got the unit, I've got their upper body kit, I've got their GHD attachment, I've got their leg developer kit, I got the whole thing. I've had this for a bunch of months at this point. I put a ton of use into it, and I'm ready to give you a detailed breakdown that answers hopefully a lot of questions a lot of the other videos out there don't answer. When this product first came out, the Generation 1, and this is the second generation, I believe, it looked really cool to me, but I'll be real honest with you, as a consumer, I thought, it looks a little kind of gimmicky.
It's a trap!
And B, it looks a little expensive.
Here, you want my money? You take it.
Right? Like, I wasn't gonna buy something this expensive sight unseen. So I started watching videos, and boy, there's a lot of videos. And after about the 50th video that showed me how many exercises I could do, I realized that the questions I had as a consumer weren't really gonna be answered, so I didn't buy one. And when the second generation one came out, and my friend Joe Gray over at the Gray Matter Lifting YouTube channel really spoke highly about it, and I'm gonna link Joe's video both at the end of this video as well as in the description so you can take a look, I was more interested. But probably like a lot of you guys watching this video, I wasn't more interested enough to spend 1,500 bucks.
I am not convinced.
So I reached out to the folks over at Freak Athlete, and the owner, Benji, over there was nice enough to say, hey, we love the garage gym community. I want to get one of these in your hands. Let me send it to you. And he did send it to me several months ago free of charge. So A, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that, because quite honestly, as a normal consumer spending my own money on this, based on the information that was out there, as much as there is, I would not have bought this. So this video is going to be a little bit long. First of all, I'm going to put timestamps down below so that you can jump to anything that you want. I want to make sure that I'm detailed. I want to make sure that I answer all of the questions that I had as a consumer.
You talk too much.
And all of the things that would have helped me make a decision to buy one had I had that information up front. And speaking of that, there will be a link down below. You want to use that link for a couple of reasons. If you want to buy one of these based on this video, number one, it lets the folks over at Freak Athlete know that this video was helpful to you and that this longer form content is something you like as a consumer. And that'll also take you to any current sale prices. While this pricing is probably settled even post-tariff at right around 1,500 bucks for this kit, they do run sales, so if you want to see if there's any sales running or anything like that, check that link down below. That'll take you right to the sale page and let you know what it's selling for right now. And let's start the review with the conclusion for those of you who just want me to jump to the point.
It was a jump to conclusions, Matt.
And the question is, if they hadn't sent me one, but I know what I know now, having had this for several months of use, would I actually spend 1,500 bucks of my own money on it? And the answer is, for me, yes. I actually love a lot of things on this. Look, I think there's some definite issues on this, which I'll point out. And it's a lot to do with how you'll actually use it. It's really going to depend on whether or not it fits your training style, whether or not it fits the movements, because quite honestly, this does a lot of stuff. It does some things really well. It does some things kind of in the middle, and then it does some things, they're there, but maybe not the best in the world. And depending on what you'll use it for, it may or may not be worth 1,500 bucks of your money. But for me, It was, if I had to go back and buy it knowing what I know now, I absolutely would buy it. And I would probably buy the whole kit as it sits. I really like it. I've looked at a lot of these Nordic bench combination units, and I think this is definitely the best one that is out there right now for your money. So let's jump right in with one of the biggest questions that I had, and I'm sure a lot of you do, which is how much space is this thing gonna take up? Now, a lot of the advertisements and marketing material have made it very clear that while stored, and you see this stored upright with the GHD pad sitting on top, that it only takes up a 2 foot by 2 foot section on your floor. I want to point out a couple of things that are a little bit misleading. Number one, as usual, the size that things look like online are typically not what they are. I'm 6'6". This is a big boy right here, right? So while it's only 2 by 2 width and height, it's a pretty large unit, which is good because there's some nice stability that comes with that, but it's not like a lot of other stuff that stores in a 2 by 2 area but is pretty slim. This does take up a good amount of room. The reason I'm pointing that out is while it is on wheels and it's pretty easy to kind of move it around and wheel it around, because of its size, you need some area around it to wheel it around. So I found that while I originally thought, hey, I'll just stick it back in a corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
You know, kind of out of the way. It's kind of hard to get out of a corner or something if it's behind something. So you're not only going to need that 2 by 2 space to store it, you're also going to need a pretty clear path. One of the things I wish was different is you've really got to kind of lean it quite a bit before the wheels kick in, both this way and when you're lifting it from the ground. And that means you need a little bit of room to maneuver and kind of finagle this thing around. So that's the vocabulary word for today is finagle, but just keep that in mind. The other thing you want to keep in mind, which is, as you'll see throughout the review, one of the absolute best things about this is this. This is the leg developer kit. And while it does come apart in 2 pieces, it's a little big, right? There's no real great way to store this. I was looking for a way to hang this on my wall, and because of the geometry of everything, there's not a great way to do that. It does store upright like this. I will tell you that you can knock it over pretty easily. I've done that a few times. There's a little post sticking out. So the weird thing about storage-wise is while this isn't too bad to find a place to store, this leg developer kit has really kind of been a puzzle for me of where I'm going to put it. The bigger deal is not only where do you store it, but how much room do you need to use it? So let me set this up, and I want to show you something that I think a lot of people don't point out or don't think about. So we've got this set up in just a flat kind of a tabletop position. And one of the things I love about this is it's so infinitely adjustable. You can just think about a million different things if you're creative to do with it. But it's set up at its highest position here. When you look at the footprint when it's set up like this, it's 67 inches long by 29 inches wide, and that's the width of these handles here. That's the widest point on the unit. So to use it, I've got a lot of space in this gym, and what I find is even though I've got a ton of space, I've got this cable machine right here on the right, I've got my barbell wall on the left, and there's a ton of room between the two. However, when I set this up, I still have to oftentimes set it up diagonally. It requires quite a bit of floor space to use. Now, not only does it take up the floor space here, what happens is a lot of the exercises you're going to be sticking. So if I wanted to do 90-degree back raises or my feet are over here and my hips are here, well, my torso is way out here. So it's going to take up even more room than that. So what I found is that even with the normal setup with this, just with the things that you buy it to do, you can end up finding yourself with a shortage of room when you actually want to use it. I was surprised at how big this was when it was set up. Now, like I mentioned, it's nice because this is nice and stable. A lot of these compact units, what happens is you get on them, and for me, I'm 6'6" and 220 pounds. I don't feel necessarily super safe on some of those, especially if I'm hopping up on top of things and I'm up high doing a GHD or something like that, and I actually feel very safe on this. So that's the nice thing about it, but just so that you know as you're trying to fit this into a small garage gym space, I think that too much emphasis is put on that 2 foot by 2 foot storage space and not enough emphasis is put on how much room you need to use it. And it actually gets a little bit more space intensive than that. So when you use the leg developer kit, which sits on the front here, again, you need room for that leg developer kit to go out. If you're going to use the upper body development kit or the upper body kit, what happens is you use the leg developer and then you can stand on the other side. So I now have the leg developer here, I'm standing all the way over here and I'm pulling. It takes up a ton of room this way. The other part that you'll run into is if you want to use this for hip thrusts. So the hip thrust pad is going to be installed right down here at the foot, and it's great, it works awesome. The problem is I have the entire length of this bench up behind me, and then so I have to allow for someplace behind. So even if I was to do it in my rack where I'll put this portion inside the rack behind me and then I'll put it here, I really have to kind of finagle a little bit, there's that word again, to find a good way to fit the width of the barbell with the hip thrust, the length of this unit, the length of my body at the end of this unit, versus if I just use a roller pad on my rack, I don't have to take up nearly as much room. So that's a big heads up for you guys, is the space that it takes. So how about for those of you who aren't looking to fit this into a gym, but you're looking to put this like in the corner of your living room and just have this be your gym? Just make sure you've got enough floor space to do that. You may not be using a barbell for hip thrusts in that case, but again, just be aware that regardless of your application, you're going to want to pay attention to how much room it takes to actually use this thing, not just store it. Next, let's talk about one of my biggest hesitations when I looked at buying this and didn't, and I'll just be blunt and honest about this. When I saw this and all the things it can do, and one of the marketing tricks that are out there right now is they'll throw something out, you know, these all-in-one racks now, and like, you can do 72 different exercises on it, and it's become such a marketing ploy, and I've used so many of those things, and 70 of those 72 exercises are kind of worthless, that whenever I hear that, you can do 800 things on this, it turns me off.
It's a trap!
Not to mention, I've looked at so much cheaply made imported product lately that when I saw this, my first reaction was, oh geez, there's another one that does a lot of things. It's probably not made very well. It's probably not very well constructed. The finish is probably going to come off if I look at it wrong. It's going to be packaged terribly. It's going to come out of the box with you know, chips and dings. It's going to have horrible instructions. It's going to be yet again another kind of just overpriced imported product that's not worth my money.
Everything is terrible. Optimism is a lie. Expect the worst.
And that was my blunt, honest opinion of what I thought this was going to be like when I looked at it at first. And that's really one of the big reasons I didn't order it. So I made a list of things that as I went through this and I got it, that actually I was pleasantly surprised. I'm so happy that the folks over at Freak Athlete sent me one, because these things that I'm going to go over here are some things that I know I was worried about. I know they're things that you guys are worried about, and I want to kind of touch on some of the things that I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised when I opened this up. So when something costs $1,500, there are some things that I just expect, right? To me, that's a premium price tag. I kind of expect not only a little bit of a premium product, but also a premium experience. And that's what I got. So I want to start with the first thing out of the box was this product has the best, hands down, installation and assembly instructions and use instructions of any product that I've used or tested in the last 10 plus years of doing this for a living. So it comes with these, there's no manual at all. You open it up and there's these really nice plastic cards. There's little QR codes, one for assembly, one for use. You scan the QR code, it takes you to the site. And these installation videos are fantastic. They literally go, here's step one, here's what you'll need. Like, they show you the parts, they show you the bolts, and then they show you step by step, not only how to put it together, but the best way to put it together. There's so many little tricks that you wouldn't have figured out just based on a paper manual that they'll show you in these videos. I got this thing together. Now, it came in a box just of tons of parts. So I looked, I'm like, oh geez, here goes another 4 hours of my life, right? With these videos, I was up and going in under an hour. The whole thing was built. I knew it was put together correctly. I didn't have to undo anything. I didn't have to flip anything over because I put it together backwards. It was fantastic. Not only that, you then look at the videos of how to use it, because when you look at all the knobs and buttons and colors and things on this, at first glance, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, it can be a little intimidating, and they show you exactly how to use it. So as far as a premium delivery experience, I was super impressed with everything that they provided you to actually put together and use this. Secondly, when I first opened the box, my heart kind of sank. I'm like, oh, here we are, another box with a bunch of parts that are bubble wrapped, all thrown in together. Everything's going to be scratched, everything's going to be nicked. My immediate assumption was the powder coat is going to be this little dusting of powder coat you see on a lot of budget stuff. But as I opened it up and as I unpacked it, what I realized was There were like little pieces of wood, there were shrink wrapped pieces of styrofoam and packing. Everything was put in the box thoughtfully. Nothing was banging against each other. So you could shake this box all you want. Nothing was rubbing against each other. Nothing was nicking each other. This came out of the box with absolutely no nicks, scratches, scuffs, or anything. And I really didn't expect that. So the packaging was great. And then when you look at the powder coat is a step above. Now, is it a premium powder coat that you'll see on a $5,000 rack? No. But it is miles better than most of the other stuff that I've looked at that are competing products. The only one that I would say has similar powder coat is the Shogun product, which is a $1,200 unit that only does two things. And while that's really nice, and I'll compare this to that here in a little bit, this actually, the powder coat's really good. When you look at the details, not only the powder coat, but just the little details, where there's knurled handles, where there are laser cut emblems and logos. There's little magnets on at least 3 different areas of this where these little parts, there's these little foot pegs that go up and down. There's a little ladder adjustment that goes up and down. There's a stability bar that goes up and down. And those things all lock in place with magnets. And even when you collapse this all the way down, there are specific pop pins that are designed just to hold it firmly together when it's collapsed so that it doesn't rattle and roll and come apart when you pick it up to store it. Just the little touches throughout the whole thing. When I said I was looking for more of a premium experience, these are the little details and touches that you'll see in a company who really puts a value on giving you a lot for your money and giving you something that you're going to enjoy using. Those are all things that when you look at products that are a lot less expensive than this that seem to do the same thing, they're all missing those things. So while those other products work, they just don't work as well. They're the little touches. Does it make it more expensive? Yes. Is it something that I'm really happy that it has and it just makes it much more enjoyable to use? Absolutely. And probably the biggest question when people have questions on fit and finish and something of this price point and something that kind of looks like this online or other competing products is, how about the padding? How about the vinyl? So some really nice touches. First of all, this padding is nice and firm. You can tell it's not going to compress over time. Like I said, I've had this for a few months. No issues with denting or collapsing or flattening at all. They really use a good level of padding. The vinyl on here is very, very nice. So it's a good durable vinyl. It's actually easy to clean. It's fairly grippy. It'll hold you on, but it's not so grippy that you stick to it, which is nice because you do kind of have to move around a little bit. But the rollers are really nice and big. They're very supportive. When I use the leg developer, there's better cushioning on the leg developer than there is on some of the dedicated leg curl and leg extension machines that I've used. So I really, really like the overall kind of fit and finish of not only the metal parts, but all the seats, all the cushions, everywhere that you touch. And one of the cool things, and this is a great example of this kind of higher end premium feel. When you look on the bottom of these cushions, a lot of times when you look at the bottom of some more budget priced cushions, you'll see there's this like black, like papery stuff that they just staple, and there's all these staples that are all cockeyed and crooked. This one actually has this really nice material on the bottom of the pads with like little trim around the outside. I mean, it's like a finished surface, even though it's something that you're never actually going to see. But what I know is that this stuff, the stuff's not going to peel off, it's not going to come off, it's not going to break off, you're not going to snag it on something, the staples aren't going to poke you in the hand when you reach to grab it and take a pad off or something like that. And then one more little thing that I'll point out, which, man, this tickled me more than a lot of other things. Let me show you this arm kit here. So we're going to look at this arm kit here in a little bit, but it comes with these long D handles, and you'll see this comes with a lot of cable towers. What this does is it allows you to add some length to your pull. And I have these for my cable tower. I've actually got 2 sets, one that came with and then one with a set of knurled grips. And I actually like using them. The problem is that when you hook something to the middle here, you got this thing flipping around. And with this here, it's got Velcro. So when I use one, you just Velcro it together and now there's nothing flipping around. I absolutely love these. I think this thing is the pair of these and then the strap to do the upper body workout on this is like 30, it's a steal. So even if you don't need this, if you're looking for a great set of D handles, nice, good grippy D handles, good firm plastic, nice and wide, really good touches, rubber logo. So when you're talking about kind of a premium feel and a premium product experience, because it's priced that way, You absolutely get it with this, and I can tell you just real honestly, as you can probably tell, the overall quality, the overall build quality, the overall materials quality of this absolutely blew me away. So if you're looking at this thing like I did and you were thinking, man, here's another one of these imported pieces of junk that's just gonna fall apart and just gonna look like crap right out of the box, you're not gonna get that with this. So let's come on down and look at one of the things that kept me from buying this up front, aside from the price tag. But one of the things I was concerned with is, if you know me at all, if you follow the channel at all, you know that if it takes work for me to do something, if it takes a lot of setup time for me to use it, I just won't use it. I see a lot of cool ideas online of things that people do and they set up in their gym, but when I look at it, I go, it's gonna take me 10 minutes to set it up, I'm not interested. And that's when I saw all of these knobs, right? When you look at this thing online, it's like there's a red knob, a red knob, a red knob, a gray knob, another gray knob, a green one, a blue one, a yellow one, a red one, there's a purple one down here someplace, right? And I just looked at all that and I went, yeah, no, even if I bought it, it's gonna end up in the corner because I'm never gonna wanna take it out and set it up and use it. And I couldn't have been more wrong. There's really only 2 knobs on this. So basically the way that this works is it's set up all the way in its topmost position right now and perfectly flat. But the blue knob makes this end go up and down. The green knob makes this end go up and down. And then you can have it at any of those angles that you want, which makes it extremely versatile. I've found so many different cool things that I can do on this that aren't listed in the instructions, just because you have a flat surface that you can make at any real angle that you want with leg rollers at one end to hold your feet. So you can really do a lot of cool stuff on this just by angling things around, and it's very, very, very easy to do that. The only other 2 knobs you need to worry about are kind of on the end here, like this gray one. Really cool, when this thing goes from this position to its fully collapsed position, it locks down. So both ends lock down in place, and you don't have to worry about it flipping around or coming apart when you pick it up to roll it around or store it. And then when you do first kind of open it up, you've got to pull that pin so that it unlocks it. But again, super intuitive. I think the learning curve on this thing was about 3 minutes for me. And then speaking of locking it down and being solid, all of these knobs, you need to, one thing you do want to do, and it says this in the instructions a million times, every time you put it in a position, you want to screw these down. You lift up the end that you want, you screw it down, and that makes it very solid. Like I think I mentioned already, I'm 6'6" and 220. I have no qualms about getting on this thing. I feel very safe on it. It's very stable as long as you lock down these knobs. If you forget to lock down these knobs, and I definitely did that a couple times, it does get a little wobbly on you, but as long as you screw down these knobs, you are good to go. So if you're worried about all of these colored knobs and adjusting it and using it and trying to figure it out and not being able to do it real easily, don't worry about it. Super easy to use, real short learning curve, and let's move on to the next point. So while all of those issues are important and they're all things that you and I as consumers would want to know before we buy something like this, where the rubber meets the road is actually using it and what you can do on it and how good is it at the things that it does, right? Like I mentioned a couple of times already, lots of things today advertise that they'll do a lot of things, but if they do a lot of things poorly, it doesn't matter how many things that they do, right? So how does this work for the exercises that you buy it for? And it's designed to do 9 or 10 different exercises and replace, 7 or 8 different individual machines. So the question that I had is, being that I do have room in my gym, am I better off buying something like this, or am I better off looking at the few exercises that I do want to do and buying a dedicated machine just for that purpose? Because typically, in the home gym space and the commercial gym space, when you walk into a commercial gym, there is a single-use machine for every movement, because typically speaking, something that is purpose-built to do one thing is going to do a better job at that than something like this, which is built to kind of be a jack of all trades and really a master of none. So I wanted to kind of look at this in view of something that happened to me when I was a kid. Now, when I was a kid, long time ago, and this might blow some of you younger parents away, when I was a kid, a rite of passage as a young boy was when you got a pocket knife. When your parents trusted you enough to give you a pocket knife. And this wasn't like in high school, guys. This was, I think I got my pocket knife in 3rd or 4th grade.
And this is Fausto. Yeah, he just plays with that knife all day and night.
And I was so excited, right? I got this nice buck pocket knife with these 2 blades, and it was really cool that I finally got a knife I could whittle, right? Back before video games, y'all, we went out and took a stick, and we took a knife and we shaved it. That was our entertainment for the day.
What are you doing, Gilligan?
Whittling.
Don't laugh, but that's what we did. You guys in the comments, let me know in the comments, everybody who whittled when you were a kid, know what I'm talking about. But it was really cool that I got this knife. But as a typical ungrateful child, that knife wasn't good enough for me, right? It was cool, it was quality. My dad kind of knew what he was doing, so he got me what was really a nice knife. However, my friend Chip was either a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout at the time, and he had a Swiss Army knife. And not only did he have a Swiss Army knife, he had the Swiss Army knife. This thing had a saw. This thing had scissors. This thing had an awl, which nobody knew what an awl was, but it had one. This thing had a spoon and a fork and a knife in it. This thing had several knife blades. This thing had a toothpick and tweezers, like all Swiss Army knives do. But man, this thing had everything. And you know when you're a kid and you want bigger presents because smaller presents mean they're not as good? Well, that's kind of how I looked at these knives. Was I'm like, well, that bigger present is better, right? And as I hung out with Chip over the summertime with our knives, what I realized was, as I used that Swiss Army knife, it was very good at some things, right? Like it had a couple of nice blades that you could whittle really well with. A little bit bulky to hold in your hand, but you could do it. It had some other things, like a corkscrew that you could actually use as a corkscrew, worked pretty well. It had some other things though, like a saw and some scissors and that awl, which were like, it's cool that they're there and we've figured out ways to use them, but I'd probably rather have a full-size saw, right? Probably rather have an actual pair of scissors. And then it had some other things, like it was cool that there was a toothpick and tweezers, but those were pretty much the most worthless toothpick and tweezers that you could possibly have. I think it was just something like, what else can we cram into this thing? And so when I saw this online, and before I ever bought one, before I ever got one, that's kind of how I looked at it was, oh, it's just like that Swiss Army knife. It's probably really good at a couple of things, and it's probably really terrible at a couple of other things. And for any of you who carry a knife as an adult know, there are some people who still carry a Swiss Army knife, but a much smaller version, because the corkscrew comes in handy and the awl comes in handy, and you know, you never know how many holes you're gonna need to punch in your belt, right? But there's other people who just carry a nice kind of just flip out knife, right? Because that's all you really need. You just need a blade that does almost everything. You can clean your fingernails with it. You can pick your teeth with it. You can whittle with it, right? So when I was looking at this, I'm like, okay, what is this going to be? Is this going to be a tool that does really good things all across the board? Or is there going to be a toothpick and a tweezer somewhere on this? So I want to look at this as a home gym Swiss Army knife and talk about what are the different functions that it does and where in that range of usability they fall. So let's pull out a few of the nice big blades on this unit. And the first big blade is what this thing was made for originally. It's what all of these combination benches are made for originally, which is Nordic Curls. Nordic Curls are where you kind of lock in your lower legs below the knees, and from the knee up, you kind of lower yourself down, raise yourself back up. It's a very good exercise for your hamstrings. It's an extremely good exercise for your knee health. They're exercises that I think that eventually everybody will be incorporating into their workout plan. And while it is something that you can DIY in your gym, having a dedicated bench to do it on is really, really beneficial. So what makes this one nice or nicer than some other ones? First of all, the fit and finish of this, along with the pad quality, is so much nicer than most other benches out there. It's just more comfortable. It's already an uncomfortable exercise to do. To have something that's built this well with this type of leg rollers to lock your feet in, it is really nice to do. So, no, by the way, I'm 6'6". This fits people up to 7 feet. So no matter what your height is, your body size, you're going to be able to use this. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about this is a lot of the other Nordic curl benches that I've used, I always feel like I'm wiggling around or something's loose. With this, with these rollers, I can really get my feet locked in, nice and secure up against the foot plate. And then something that's really cool about this that I don't know of any other one that does, this not only adjusts in different angles, and you really want that. Nordic curls are very, very hard to do flat, right? Which is any DIY is going to just be doing it flat. You're going to want to be able to progress into it by lowering the angle. Not only do you get to lower the angle, but for example, the Nordex, which is the most expensive Nordic bench that I know of, which is $1,200 bucks. What it does is the bottom portion always stays flat, so that your knees are bent. So your knees are already bent. You're not getting a straight knee at the bottom of the movement, and there's just this kind of pad that comes up and keeps your chest from going down. I don't enjoy that at all. This is much better. The entire bench angles, but not only does it angle up down to flat, it'll actually, for all of you crazy people out there who have much stronger legs than I do, it'll actually do a decline Nordic, and I don't know of any other bench aside from this one that does that. So if you're trying to progress your Nordic curl, this is the way to go. If all you're buying is a Nordic curl bench, that's all you want this for, this is probably overkill. As nice as this is, now this is the nicest one that I've used, so if you want the nicest one and that's worth the extra money to you, that's great. Let's say that you want to do that and you want to do back extension. So if you wanted to buy a standalone back extension for your gym, you're going to spend about 250 bucks at minimum for one that will allow you to do different angles, right? You want to be able to not only do 45 degrees, and a lot of the ones in your commercial gym are a fixed 45 degree, but you want to be able to lower it down, and the more you can lower it down, the more it changes the focus in your lower back. The cool thing about this is because it goes up like this, and I can raise the bottom portion like I'm sitting on right now, I can actually set this up to do a 90-degree back extension, which you can't do on really any of the other ones that I can think of, even the ones in the commercial gym. And that is a completely different exercise, right? So if you're looking to strengthen your lower back, if you're dealing with strengthening your core and dealing with lower back pain, back extensions are a great way to do that. And this is going to provide you more flexibility with the number of exercises that you do. So even if you wanted to buy a standalone back extension and buy a standalone Nordic bench, you're already at 750 bucks. And it's taking up, if you buy two separate, you're already taking up more space than this. So when we add up the floor space for a Nordic bench, the floor space for a back extension, and the cost, this is already a value. So, and keep in mind this without the leg developer, without the arm thing, without the GHD, runs $1,000. So we're just comparing those two right now. But those are just two of the big blades. Another of the big blades is actually the GHD, which I was surprised. Now, in this gym, I have a Bells of Steel Reverse Hyper, which is also a big, giant stationary GHD. A GHD is a glute ham developer. And what a glute ham developer is almost like an easier Nordic curl. It really does a good job of developing your hamstrings and your butt. And it's great for athletics. If you play any sports at all, having a GHD is really, really valuable because those are the muscles that you use to run, jump, and be athletic, right? So having that in your arsenal is great. The issue with the combination like reverse hyper GHD that I've got here is the pad is the wrong shape. For this one, we've got the right shape pad, which is you want something that's curved like this. The way that the GHD exercise works is you're going to actually be putting kind of the middle of your thigh across this, your knees go down here, and then as you lower down, you kind of rock back and forth along the curve. And that's what makes it a little bit easier exercise to do than the Nordic curl. I absolutely love using this for a GHD. The other thing that this allows you to do is what are called GHD sit-ups, where you flip around, this goes under your butt, and you can go all the way back to do sit-ups. While you can do decline sit-ups on this, I'm not a big fan of decline sit-ups. I know a lot of people like doing decline sit-ups because they feel harder, but the whole point of doing ab work is actually to get your abs to grow. There's two ways to get abs. Number one, you got to lose enough fat to see them. But number two, like every other muscle in your body, you have to actually build them and get them to grow a little bit. And the more you can get them to grow, the more body fat you can have and still see your abs. So one of the cool things is that almost all studies currently are showing that your muscles grow in the stretched position. Well, when you're on a flat surface doing decline sit-ups, yes, you're able to put more weight on the sit-up and you can hold a plate or something like that. The problem is that you're only able to go back flat and you're not stretching your abs. What a GHD setup does is it allows you to actually get back and fully stretch your abs, and that contraction from stretched up is where the muscle growth will happen. So if you are working on your abs, if you're working on your core strength, then having something like this to do those types of sit-ups is going to be invaluable to you. And so for someone like myself with a lot of history of lower back pain, being able to incorporate GHDs and GHD sit-ups into my training has been really fantastic. I haven't been able to do that yet because on this reverse hyper, it doesn't have the right shaped pad. So I haven't done GHDs on those, and I haven't done the GHD sit-ups on those because it's just uncomfortable. Whereas with this, it's super comfortable. And for the couple $100 that this costs to add on, this is absolutely a big blade in this Swiss Army knife, and I love having this. I don't think that I would personally buy this without this. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, whether or not this is right for you is going to come down to how you train, right? And if this fits your training, then this is going to be valuable. If not, it's nice that this is an accessory that you don't have to buy. The last big blade in this Swiss Army knife, and in my opinion, it might be the biggest, best, sharpest blade in the entire Swiss Army knife, that is the Nordic Hyper Pro, is this leg developer kit. And even though it's big and bulky, and even though I'm going to have to try and find some way to store this thing, I love this. Not only is it my favorite feature on this piece, it is better than all of the standalone leg curls and leg extensions that I've tested. And really the best one that I've tested so far is sitting right here. It's the Rit Fit. It's like 350 bucks, but that's another 350 bucks for a standalone piece. That standalone piece does not work as well as this. You cannot lift as heavy on that as you can on this. So I can actually get more resistance out of this single weight horn than I can on that cam-driven system. The padding is so much better than those entry-level pieces. In order to get a leg curl, leg extension that has this quality of padding that's this comfortable to use, you would have to spend much more than that 350 bucks. But even if you were just to go, hey, I don't want to buy this and this, I'm just going to get myself a standalone, that's another 350 bucks. That's another 4 foot by 4 foot spot on your floor, and your gym's getting cluttered, your bank account's getting emptied. And just looking at, if you were to buy the things that we talked about, if you were to buy a standalone GHD, a standalone leg curl leg extension, and then a standalone back extension, and then a standalone Nordic curl, you're already over the price of this, and you're already taking up 5 or 6 times the space that this takes up, which is why as we go through this kind of Swiss Army knife piece by piece, just even if you only use the big blades, you never pull out the toothpick, you never use the saw, you never use the awl, you never did any of that stuff, and you just use the big blades on this knife, you've already got your money and your space worth. So this is where, as I started using this, when my original hesitations about would I really spend 1,500 bucks on this, and I asked myself at the end now, would I actually go and buy one of these for myself? And the answer is yes. This is why. Because even if I only use it for these 4 things, to me it's worth every penny, and the space savings and the cost savings, and because a lot of these function better. This is a better Nordic bench than any other one that I've tried. This is a better back extension than any other one that I've tried. The GHD is as good as a dedicated GHD. I won't say that it's better. And the leg developer kit is better than anything that's going to even be close to this price point. So when you factor all that in together, we're already there. But that said, let's look at the other blades and other tools in this Swiss Army knife. The next tool we want to pull out of this here Swiss Army knife is the awl. Came in handy. It was a tool that we actually used all the time. Punching holes in cans. Don't ask why that didn't happen until high school, but sometimes you need to punch a hole in the bottom of a beer can. Punching holes in other stuff, picking things out, digging things out. It was a very useful tool, and what I found is that there's 4 things that I use this bench for that are kind of like the awl of the Swiss Army knife, right? There are things that I don't use all the time, but boy, I'm glad when they're there. The first one is decline sit-ups. Now, I don't do decline sit-ups a lot, but occasionally I do, and I actually really like using this because of the quality of the foot rollers and because of the quality of the padding. It's very comfortable to do that on. I like that I can use different angles. I'm not stuck at just one angle. It's very easy to adjust, so I do like using it for decline. If you flip around, there's 2 more exercises you can do. You can hold onto these handles right here, and you can do leg raises. So I like doing leg raises on an angle because, again, you can graduate how hard it is, and the less of an angle, the easier it is. But leg raisers are great because it works your hip flexors. It's great for folks who sit at a desk, and I definitely do a lot of that, editing long old videos like this. And then I also like them for what are called reverse crunches. Reverse crunches, a really cool trick for you guys out there is you put a massage roller under your knees and grip it with that, and then you just kind of roll up. And doing it on a decline like that, or an incline, however you want to look at it, really smokes your core and is a great ab exercise. So just real quickly, those are 4 things that I use this for. I don't think other than the decline sit-ups, I don't think it's things that they advertise them for. But again, it's something like an awl where it's like, okay, it's for this, but gee, in that position, you can do these other things, and it does those other things pretty well. Now, if you had a really cool Swiss Army knife, your Swiss Army knife had a saw. It was kind of one of those things that's like, it's cool to have, We weren't really ever using it for what it was intended for. We never cut down a tree or anything like that, but it was nice to have and we use it. And there's a couple of features on here that I would compare to the saw. The first one is the upper body kit. The upper body kit is simply 2 long D-handle attachments with multiple D-rings to attach it to different lengths and then a strap to extend. It allows you to do some exercises while you're sitting on here. So you can do some seated rows, you can do seated face pulls, you can do some standing rows, you can do some cable curls, you can do some wood chops. You can do basically most horizontal cable exercises with the upper body kit. The other one is probably the biggest misunderstood thing on all of these types of benches, and I really wish people would just stop marketing them this way. There is no reverse hyper on any of these things. And even when you look at the exercise demonstration on here, they'll even say, they're like, okay, time to do the reverse hyper. And we know it's not really a reverse hyper. And I'm thinking to myself, if you know it's not really a reverse hyper, then stop calling it a reverse hyper. What this allows you to do with the GHD attachment is a reverse back extension. So instead of you locking your lower body in place and raising and lowering your upper body, you're locking your upper body in place and you're raising and lowering. You're basically doing a reverse leg raise. It is not a reverse hyper. What a reverse hyper is it's weights that are attached to your feet and you lift the weights with your leg. So you're pumping blood into your lower back by contracting those muscles and you're building muscle. And then the weights are pulling you forward and it's giving you some decompression in your lower back, and that allows that blood flow to kind of get in where it needs to get into. And doing that a bunch of times is extraordinarily good for your lower back, especially if you lift heavy. A good reverse hyper, I've got one here by Bells of Steel, runs about $1,200. So a one-trick pony that costs as much basically as this whole thing does, and takes up more room than this does. The reverse hyper is a solid 4.5 feet by 3 feet. So takes up more room, takes up more money. This does not do that. What it does is it allows you to do a reverse back extension, the leg raising portion. And you can use bands to add some resistance there instead of the weights that a reverse hyper would. That exercise still has a lot of value. So I'm not sure why they keep forcing the issue of calling it a reverse hyper. Just call it a reverse back extension. And that has a lot of value. That exercise has a lot of value. I use this for that exercise. Especially if I've got the GHD pad on here already. I don't always want to be swinging my legs back and forth on the reverse hyper, and I do use the reverse back extension on this. So it's, again, if I didn't have it, would I go, man, I wish I had one of those? No, because I got my reverse hyper, and if I didn't have my reverse hyper, I'd do it in a different way. But because it's here, because you can do it, it's like that saw. I use it because it's here. So those are the couple of things that I would compare to the saw. They're things that, you know, you'll use them because they're here, but I don't know that I would miss them if they weren't, and I don't know that I would buy this because you can do those two things. They're just, like I said, kind of cool to have once you've already got the main unit in your gym. Okay, so let's get to the toothpick and the tweezers. The toothpick and the tweezers is something that slid into the side of the case of the Swiss Army knife. The tweezers, you maybe could get a small splinter out, but they really weren't worth anything for tweezers. And the toothpick was too big and stiff to fit between any of your teeth. And that's kind of how I feel about a couple of the exercises on here. And it involves this leg roller right here. So because this leg roller comes off, you can take this off, you can put it at the other end of the bench, and you can do two different things with it. The first one is one of my favorite exercises and one of your least favorite exercises, the Bulgarian split squat. A lot of people, what they do is they try and put their foot up on a bench, and because the bench is flat and they don't have the ankle mobility to do it, it becomes very uncomfortable, very hard to balance. By putting your rear foot up on a roller like this, you'll find that your split squats are much easier to do. Then that's the setup. The problem that I have with this is that for me, I like to have the ability to change the height significantly on this. And I think that for most people, the right height for this is right behind their knee. And unfortunately, with how tall I am, this doesn't go up high enough. If you're shorter, this won't be an issue. I just wish it went higher. And to pull this out of the corner, lay it down, have the whole width of the bench behind me, and then have to find a place to do the split squat in front of me is a whole lot more difficult than just using a leg roller on my rack, or I've got a leg roller on my treadmill as well. And both of those are typically where I tend to do my Bulgarian split squats, just because this is kind of a huge giant implement just for a leg roller. And that leads us to the second thing, which I think is kind of a toothpick tweezer type of exercise on this, which is your hip thrusts. Now, if you don't have a roller to do Bulgarian split squats, if you don't have a roller to do hip thrusts, this is going to be a lot more valuable to you than it is me. But for me, again, the rollers that I have on my rack, the rollers that I have on my treadmill are a much easier place for me to do those Bulgarian split squats because I don't have to, again, wheel out this entire bench and have the entire width of the bench behind me and then also have room for me in front of me. This is very difficult. As much room as I have, it's very difficult for me to get this set up with enough room for the bench itself and then also enough room for me at the foot of the bench to have a barbell on my lap, have my whole big old body out in front and then get situated. So as far as how it works great. Like, it's a very stable pad. It's nice and wide. Again, it's firm. It's good quality vinyl on the outside. So if you don't have another way to do them, it's going to be more valuable to you than it is me. And that's kind of why I put them in the tweezer and toothpick category, because even though I'm not going to tweezer and toothpick, I know there's people out there who use that toothpick all the time and love it. And I think that there's those of you out there, if you don't have another option for those two exercises, that this will present a value for you. I guess the advice that I would give is I wouldn't buy this for those two things. It's just like that tweezer and toothpick. You're gonna buy it for the big blades, the things that you're really gonna use it for. And oh, by the way, it's gonna come with these other things that you may or may not use. So that's kind of the gamut of how I look at this as a Swiss Army knife for your gym, what I think is valuable and what I think it's not. So what about the accessories? Are those worthwhile? So for me, the upper body kit is well worth it. If you have a cable system, I think they're great. They're the best bang for the buck attachments of that style. So if you've been looking for some longer D handles, those are the best ones you can get, and they're like the least expensive ones you can get. So if you don't have a cable system, then you're getting the leg developer system on this. Keep in mind you have to have that to use that. I think it's worth it. If you are opting between that and buying a full-on cable system, obviously a full-on cable system is better, but I do like that upper body kit. As far as the GHD attachment, the GHD attachment is completely up to whether or not you're going to use it or not. So if you think that you're going to do the glute ham raises, if you're going to do the GHD sit-ups, if you're going to do the reverse back extensions, again, no reverse hypers on this, reverse back extensions, then it's going to be worth it. It's a couple $100, $250 or something like that on its own. So that's definitely worth it. For me, the must-have accessory is the leg developer kit. The leg developer kit was a surprise hit for me. It's my favorite thing about this. It is absolutely going to not only replace the leg curl leg extension I've got in my gym, it's going to prevent me from really looking for any other options for that. And it just opened up a giant 4 foot by 4 foot space on my gym floor for something else, because I'm going to be able to do those exercises on this. So I really, really enjoy the leg developer kit. So overall, it really depends on your uses, but I don't think you can go wrong. And like we talked about through the video, when you add up the floor space and you add up the price that it takes to buy individual machines to do each of the things that this does, then yeah, it's definitely worth it to go this route. Now, last point for the video. I am normally very self-conscious about making reviews that are as positive as the one that I just did. Guarantee people are going to go, oh, Freak Athlete paid him to say that. Look, they did send this to me at no charge. I wouldn't have bought it on my own. But I genuinely feel really positive about this piece. And one of my biggest nightmares as a content creator doing this is I absolutely dread people writing me and saying, hey, Tim, I took your recommendation and I hate what I bought. That is something that I try and avoid at all costs. So whenever I can, I try and nitpick products. I try and find things wrong with them. I try and find as many things that you might find wrong with them when you get it as I possibly can, so that you're not disappointed when you get something. And I just wasn't able to find too many things like that with this. But all that said, as positive as I am on this, I do want to make sure I point this out. You absolutely do not need to buy one of these. And maybe the folks at Freak Athlete won't like me saying this, but this is a completely unnecessary piece of home gym equipment. You do not need a Nordic curl bench. As popular as they are, you do not need one. You do not need a GHD. You do not need to do GHD sit-ups. You could do GHD sit-ups on a Swiss ball. You could do leg development stuff with a barbell on your back. You could do it with dumbbells and goblet squats, right? Like, this is a luxury item. Not so much that it's a luxury item that it costs a lot, although it does, A luxury item is it's a luxury to have in your gym. It's a nice to have. It's not a must have. So as positive as all of the press is on these, as positive as all the reviews are, because there's really mostly positive reviews on this, if not all positive reviews on this piece, you don't need this. So what I would say is, if you've got the money in the budget, if you do the exercises that this allows you to do, this is a good investment for your gym. Absolutely. You'll like having it. You'll like that you spent the money, especially with the leg developer. I can't tell you how good the leg developer is. I was so surprised. But it's worthwhile if you're in that position. But if you're not in that position and you've been looking at this and you're like, wow, we're really stretching the budget, guys, save your money. Do these exercises another way and don't buy one of these. So I really want to make sure that I come across not as somebody who's saying, everybody needs one of these in their gym. Look, it's awesome. I'm going to keep this one. Again, if this one disappears tomorrow, I will buy another one. But that being said, if I was a broke college student, if I was raising a family, if I had kids to support, I for sure wouldn't buy one. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. This is a luxury. It's a nice to have, not a must have. But it's really nice to have, and I'm so happy that I finally got one in, and I'm so happy that they sent me one because, like I said, based on what was out there already, I wouldn't have bought one. So if you like videos like this, insanely long, insanely detailed review videos that hopefully answer all of your questions as a possible buyer for something, please hit that like button, please subscribe, please ring the notification bell, do all the YouTube algorithm stuff. And the best way that you can tell companies like this that you like these types of videos, because they take a long time to make, but I like making them, make sure and buy through that affiliate link down below to let Freak Athlete know that, that you like my content, and when they come out with new stuff and they've got something really cool new out already, hopefully they'll send me that too. But until the next review, let me know what comments you have, let me know what questions you have. I'm Tim with GymCrafter.